we're inviting as well Lea Chevry, co-founder of Check, who also is in the AI business, and Marcel De Rycker. I will get back to you, Marcel, in a minute, because I think you can also explain to the audience then what you are currently doing. Quite interesting, I think. Welcome, Lea and Marcel.
Hello.
As a basically introduction to our discussion, we've added a poll, which you can see now and which people could have answered. Because I think, and it maybe comes from a feeling I have, but also had a few calls with people at service providers. And it seems, and I think this poll result shows a bit the feeling I got as well, that compared to a March last year, when we also had a session on AI, I think the expectation was maybe higher. The expectation was higher that the implementation of it would have been a bit further, which basically is seen as well with this poll. Is this perception that maybe was not 100% correct? Have we, exaggerated in communication? Maybe I'm not 100% sure. So I think it's fair to give the word first to Lea Chevry from Czech to give your view on this. Are we where we plan to be, or is there another issue?
Well, thanks for the introduction. Probably we have seen expectations change throughout the year, last year. We've seen that last year has changed in terms of the market, not only just in terms of the AI. And the expectation yesterday was to optimize the process, whereas today is more to change it and get new cars. And from what we have seen, and we have seen a study of BCG, which we thought was very interesting because it's not only on the automotive markets, but also in general in terms of AI. Regarding expectation and reality, that if we compare algorithm technology and transform process into companies, the expectations of groups versus reality of what is really expected with the AI is very different. And this is why I wanted to share today the expectations released by BCA is that the groups were waiting from the algorithm to do 60% of the process, 20% of the technology, and 20% transformation engaged by the company. So much more on the technology itself than on what is needed inside the company. Whereas from what is actually the reality, we see that in reality, in terms of collection of the data, selection of the data, organization of work, algorithm is 10%, technology is 20%, and transformation engaged by the company is 70%. So yeah, I pretty agree, and probably BCG agrees on also on the report from all the people that responded to your survey, is that it's almost there. But the question is, do we have the right expectation, or do we have the right reality? That's probably a very good question. I'm pretty sure Marcel wants also to explain what he sees in terms of expectation versus reality.
Thank you, Lea. Then I'll take over if you do the moderating as well. About the expectation, yes, I completely agree that, there are two reasons. The first one is everybody was believing the technology was so revolutionary that, and it would just take over inspectors and would actually do everything in place of a human, which is a fear that you have in general with artificial intelligence. Everybody thinks, it's a complete takeover. And in fact, we've seen in a previous presentation, it is actually just helping and increasing. And I like very much the definition of a company called IBM, where they don't call it artificial intelligence, they call it assisted intelligence. And assisted intelligence is really what it is doing. And I've been part of vendors of those solutions, and we're out there in the market, and of course we're explaining everybody, this thing will change the world, and it will, we've been selling and making maybe some setting maybe some false expectation, because the area and the reception of a lot of people was like, wow, I'm going to be able to gain lots of costs, and I'm going to be able to reduce people, and my processes will be so streamlined that I don't need to do anything else anymore. I replace everybody by machines. The reality is a bit different, and Lea just showed it in the BCG paper. Yes, it is like, everybody was talking big data. Big data is going to change everything. Well, it's a relational database. You need some people that are asking the right questions in order to get something out of it. It's the same story, exactly the same story with artificial or augmented intelligence. So there has been some expectation that have been set. Part is the responsibility of what is artificial intelligence representing to a lot of people. The other one, and I take part of the responsibility, is also maybe we were surfing on it and using it because, hey, we were trying to put our solutions. Now to the reality, if I may just finish on that, yes, it is not doing everything, but it has streamlined and helped tremendously the processes. And some of the processes that the colleagues from DAT, Javier and Marcela, just presented a few seconds before, you can even go much further in those steps that you guys have been showing. You want to know on a regular basis the statuses of a vehicle. The leasing companies are interested in that. Of course, short-term rental companies are interested. Having a picture of the vehicle on a regular basis to anticipate ordering of parts, but also costs of returns. How much will it cost? There's some companies that are specialized actually in quotation on those bases and stuff like this. So I think it is slowly but certainly drifting down, and it is actually going to be a tremendous tool to assist or improve the intelligence of lots of processes.
If I may add on Marcel, I completely agree with you, and I think one of the topics that we sometimes forget is, I'm going to go back to Rome was not made in a day. So technology and acceptance of technology and development of technology, they also have their own curve. So I go with you. There were some stages where people were thinking we are at the edge of a revolution, and things will change from today to tomorrow. But these processes of acceptance and enhancing, they take their time. So I think this is actually what we have all that were related to the AI world in depleting and remarketing have experienced in the last year, which is projects have continued, proof of concept they have continued, even new ones have arisen that we were not thinking 1 year ago, 2 years ago. It's just that the process, it takes its time, and on the road we learn new applications where we can use AI technology, like you just mentioned, Marcel. The car profile that Marcela mentioned, a profile of the vehicle from the moment that it has been produced and the complete life cycle. And I also agree we will be there in the future.
Yeah, I agree. And if I can add this, I think what I noticed maybe in the market is when AI came, it was such a revolutionary concept, and it was a very attractive product, let's say, to sell. So people just run with it, and companies just put it out there for, I feel, with the not necessarily the correct mind frame. Like you said, people were saying like, oh, it's gonna replace everybody. Everybody's going to be out of work. And I feel like a lot of the times companies fail to listen to what the clients and the people wanted. So like you mentioned, Marcel, it's not about replacing, it's about giving them support and the crutches to walk better, let's say. So what I've seen also now in the trends is companies are starting to really listen and adapt the AI to what they need and not them adapt to the AI. So I think that's also very important.
So if I think probably we can say that we can still be very confident that it will as support, even in areas where we maybe a year ago thought it would have been very supportive right now, but it might take a bit more time. Are there areas where it basically really shows the advantages today, really implemented? Maybe the inspection process is not maybe the easiest ones, but there are probably other examples where it's really active.
Lea, your turn.
Yes, you're the moderator now. Yes, yes, of course, Johan, and this is also why we're still here. I agree with Marcela that we wanted to automatize the process, and we understood that we needed to simplify the process, which is really not the same. In the very beginning, we were here to optimize the process because every group's were looking at how do we optimize the process. The COVID changed, shifted that expectation of we don't have new cars, we're looking for used cars. How can you help? How can AI help the process to simplify inspection and remarketing for me to get new cars easier, faster? So yes, this is where on our side and probably everyone's side, we have seen that AI was needed, helped. We had benefits, direct benefits on how to buy cars from C to B, so directly to the end consumer. How can we project to the end consumer digital tools to help them buy cars? And so that's a shift of expectation and also a shift of how, as companies, AI companies, we are helping the groups. That's one point. The other opportunity is that we created new process. So I'm going to explain that one. We thought we'll be able to push the AI directly into the hands of experts on site. And what we have seen is that probably is a new journey. What we need is experts or inspectors on a pool of inspector, so one city that is managing everyone's car. So it's a shift in terms of expectation, not to have an expert per car, but to have a pool of inspector to do a new journey, a pool of inspector to inspect remotely. That's from our side. Pretty sure all of you have other great benefits as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, just to add up on that about the initial question, like where does it really help? So that's definitely very true what you just said, Lea. And I've also noticed like even simple in quotation process of like a check-in, check-out situation where AI can really like support the needs of the companies themselves. I've seen that it's a very successful implementation of AI.
See also on the side of maintaining the vehicle status, health status, and maximizing the residual value, of course. Mm-hmm. We're talking about contracts, buyback contracts, that they're not being the norm for the future, for example, so that now the risk shifts toward the leasers, the shift towards the short car rentals, short leasing, and they have to really maintain that the vehicle is in a specific status so that the risk on their side is diminished. Mm-hmm. And AI can help track this process completely, of course. I mean, there are things that, of course, because of the use of the car, you cannot avoid, but you will know when to react and react in a better way.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Marcel, where have you seen areas where it really shows efficiencies or supports?
Well, there are two. I mean, there are three paths basically where really you have high efficiencies already today with AI. The first one is along the complete logistical chain, where the AI is not necessarily analyzing all the damages and everything, but you have a photo booth solution that is assisted by AI. And you have a damage on a vehicle, a new car that's coming from the factory that's going to a dealership. There's 7 or 8 different stations where the vehicle goes through from a boat to a train and whatever. And you always have this claims management issue. And there you can really detect where the damage has been happening. And this is assisted with AI because it helps you very quickly to identify where the damage was. And you don't have all these issues with wrong damages that are being detected or whatever, because we know exactly what we're looking for, and it really helps. That's the first path. The second path is really what Lea just mentioned earlier on. It is actually the pooling. It's actually having a remote location where you can have inspectors or experts that are trained using the AI, because that's exactly what Lea was saying. if the people go to a certain location with an AI system, they're not always confident. They don't feel. Here, you have a whole set of people. They can help each other and so on, and you can have a remote inspection, which is extremely powerful, extremely performant, because the people that are doing that, they're doing that day in, day out, and they really know what to look at and so on. I'm not talking about big damages, insurance damages, where you still will need to have a expert going there. But this is just a quick analysis, when you are buying this process and going in this buying process. And if you go a step further in the buying process, today everybody's running after used cars for all the reasons that have been explained and so on. We have a huge, empty hole of used cars. Everybody, I was looking yesterday. If you look at some of the news and everything, even the OEMs now are putting programs in place to get used cars back from their brands and so on. So there's a big issue in purchasing, and there are solutions that are being developed. Some of them being actually to put a scanner actually even on parking lots in supermarkets, where a person could drive through, and it would go even one step further than just a damage inspection. There, the person, a private customer, can drive through and actually get a whole set of offers. He could get offered a quotation for his used car. That's one thing, but he can also get a quotation for repairs. He could get a quotation to repair his tires. He could get a quotation for eventually setting an appointment for his technical inspection. You can imagine a whole set of things that you can actually offer there. So there, artificial intelligence goes even much further, because it's actually changing the process and it's actually streamlining. But this is all initiated through COVID, through people are much more interested in new technologies. And those are like the three paths that I would see where AI today is really, really bringing an added value.
Mm-hmm.
I could talk for hours on some more, but
yeah. But then basically probably the last 2 years has also shown that there are other opportunities that maybe a year and a half ago we didn't even think about.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
I don't know, Javier, if you have seen any other things coming up that customers or potential customers are asking.
Yes, what Marcela actually mentioned in the presentation, which is all this information and statistics and the creation of this car profile itself. There's a lot of information that we can get on statistical repair calculations and amounts, percentage of probability of when we're going to have a bumper being replaced, a bumper be or repaired. But the creation at the end of the day of these profiles per vehicle, supported by telematics, course, from the complete leasing life cycle, not at the specific areas at the end, is really useful information for the depleting, for example. But if you have the complete behavior of the vehicle, then you're pretty much sure what you have at hand, which is the value of your asset, which is the risk of your asset as well. Mm-hmm. So this is a tendency that seems to be growing even more.
Which I have seen also about this specific topic is also not only the statistical analysis that AI could make, but even market trends and following, even if it's just basic social media trends. When you follow it and you implement an AI recognition system, you can see, I remember a couple of years ago that when the Polo 5 came out, for example, there was this strange noise in the market in Brazil, I think it was, and nobody from Volkswagen could understand what was wrong. And by applying AI and social media monitoring and market analysis, they were able to discover that it was some rubber production issue. So they issued a recall for this specific model in this specific country, and then it implemented it worldwide. So by having also these trends analyzed in the market, you can also save so much money, time, everything with it. So that's pretty cool.
Johan, I think we are at the beginning of the revolution, but the revolution is not going to be one day to the other. It's this pop here, pop there of new areas where we can implement AI. Like Marcela mentioned, there are things that we don't think today. Then in the next year, when we meet each other again, then the portfolio of use cases is going to be double, triple, or 4 times the size of today.
Now, Javier, you're also saying, I think in your slides before, and I think in the past there was a lot of discussion also that this will enable upstream. So in order to see that you can almost sell the vehicle before it comes to the compound. I'm not so sure with the current short supply whether this has really, whether people have gone after this. But have you seen good implementation of something like that?
Not at the bit scale yet.
Yeah.
So, like mentioned, of course, there are different POCs that happen on this level, but there's no at the moment implementation at a broad level. Let's say couple of installations in the country.
Yeah.
But just with the topic of this, going back of this profile of the vehicle, you can have the value of the vehicle at any point in time. So you can, in the future, in a couple of years in the future, recall a vehicle after 2-3 months because you realize then that the value of the vehicles has been really well preserved and it's worth then reimagining the contract and bringing it back.
Maybe Marcel, just maybe you can explain to the audience your new company where you're, I think, a very exciting new journey, but also in that type of company or the type of things you do you see AI playing somewhere in there?
Well, right now, there are very few solutions to do inspections on the carrosserie and on the outside of a truck. There is one solution that has been developed by TÜV, and which is a fixed station, so you have to drive there. It's not really convenient. The AIs may be a bit difficult to use and so on. And in the truck business, to be very honest, the carrosserie is not really an issue. We see that with light commercial vehicles. I mean, those are commodities that are being used as a production machine. So if there's a scratch, there's a scratch, but as long as it works, it's fine. It's not that important. It's important. I'm not saying that, but it's not that important. But here we're looking a step further, and it reminds me of my early days. I'm having gray hairs, and I used to teach artificial intelligence at the university in the US about 25, 30 years ago. So we have gone a long path, and it has changed. And since about 10 years, there are new tools in the market that allows applications on AI on almost every process that you can imagine. It starts from very, very bottom machine learning. I mean, it's just, because a person has a habit or a process has a habit of doing something, well, it kind of recognizes that pattern, and then, based on that, it builds up. But, if you go much further, there are many applications. One of the applications we are working on, and it's a small expert, is we basically Teva is a truck manufacturer, and we're manufacturing electric trucks. And these trucks, right now, the electric trucks and the trucks with a hydrogen range extender, are mostly used for deliveries on the last mile or on urban areas. Basically, large trucks are coming to the cities, staying on the outskirts, and then we use the electrical trucks because all the legal constraints are actually forcing that you have electrical trucks or trucks that have zero emission. And to do this, you need to do a lot of applications like you have ring fencing. That means, like in London, when you go into the city, well, if you use petrol outside, it's fine. But if you get into the city, that they have done that with hybrid vehicles, you are forced to use hybrid and electric vehicles. So there are a lot of artificial intelligence software that is being deployed right now to manage and to optimize the use between electricity and hydrogen in order to optimize all that. And to see, if you're getting into a city or coming out of a city, when are you using the hydrogen to support the electrical batteries? Basically, the concept is easy. The battery is fully loaded. It goes down, it goes down, it goes down. And then if it reaches a certain level, you recharge with hydrogen. Well, when is the best moment to do that? So these are the kind of applications that we're having. We are also, of course, implementing a lot of stuff that we can also see here in the inspection area, where the whole supply chain and the whole logistical environment. Where is it best to send a truck with vehicles to? And then we get a little bit to what has been presented even earlier on is, where does it make the most sense to pick up the vehicles, to deliver them, the used vehicles, if you go transborder and stuff like this. So it has a very far reach on artificial intelligence. That was a small outskirt, and thank you, John, for asking.
No problem. Maybe building on that further, the difference between PC and LCV. I think at Czech, Lea, have you, I don't know if the industry on this type of vehicles, are they at the same level, or has there been much more advanced AI implementations on PC versus LCV?
Well, I'm not sure there is so much of a difference. The difference is actually it's related to the process before. There was a lot of passion to analyze cars, any cars, and probably try any cars that we had in the beginning. But now it's much more in what is the expectation in terms of benefits, and then we can work. Again, we can work on any image representing cars on any type of vehicle. And then we can start a project here. What we do as business, and Marcela and Javier is the same. We don't work on cars, actually. We work on images, which is a lot different, actually. So yes, we could do any vehicles, including trucks, if that was the need. The need of trucks is not actually to have so much of inspections. But yeah, so I'll say yes. We can work on any vehicles. What we need, again, is a pool of data, information on what we want to dig into those images, and the results being analyzed and probably personalized for an objective. So I guess in any case we can work on images, but to what hands?
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah, that's very true. Like you mentioned, like we just have the information, we just need to know how to apply it better to benefit the people that are asking for it. Because like I mentioned at the beginning, we can sell it and somebody will buy it probably, but if no one is asking for it and we're not creating the right demand, it's a different story. So yeah, that's good.
Okay, just maybe as we did with the other speakers, and this is almost like what we've done today, always at the end, maybe to do a last question on any advice, because I think we clearly see that maybe expectations were not really put correctly, or people have perceived it in another way. I think we still all need to have a lot of confidence that with AI there's a lot possible. Maybe it needs to be more looked at from within the company that tries to find solutions. It was maybe more that people saw like they will help me. No, you need to see how you can help yourself by applying this. So what would be a kind of advice to support, I don't know what, acceptance or implementation? Maybe I can start with Marcel.
Yeah, maybe I'll tell you a small story about my grandmother. She said, I will never, ever go to a bank and talk to a machine to get cash. Today, I mean, first of all, you don't go to a cash machine anymore because everybody's paying with credit cards or with their smartphone. And I lived on that, and I surfed always on that. I say basically, you need to be an early adopter and embrace innovation. Go for it, try it, do it, because technology, if you want or don't want, will overtake you. It's like, people are complaining about artificial intelligence, about internet, about Big Brother watching you and so on. Yeah, sure. All right, fine. Okay, great. But you can discuss about this for hours, or you can look and try to identify how it can help you and how it can help others. And maybe I'm a bit of a geek, but I always like technology. I always, I need to have the latest smartphone and the latest watch and the latest whatever and so on. But you really need to live with it because it'll help you. And yeah, just embrace innovation. That's my biggest advice. And identify within your customer's organization those people that can push and support a project. Failures have come from people that have been half-hearted or kind of doing it because everybody else is doing it. Successes are coming from people that are really, really willing and motivated to go ahead. And if I talk on sales, don't lose your time with the people that are not interested to embrace innovation.
Okay, talking about sales, Javier, as a key account manager, you need to now go into this sales path probably. What's your take or advice?
Well, on one side is being flexible. So that is what we have learned in the past couple of years with AI. Being flexible, commit to a use case when you have positive feedback from the other side of the table. And if not, just continue being flexible with what it can be. This, with every single technology at the beginning, the first steps, they might be not that solid, but at the end of the day, technology, like Marcel mentioned, technology will develop, technology will continue, and it will find its path or carve its path. So still maintain flexible, get as much feedback from the industry as you can get. Try to identify what your customers want to do with the technology. Like Marcela mentioned a little bit ago, just hear what they want to do. You don't just to try to sell specific use case if the other person does not want to get it. Understand where the pain points are. Understand how what you have and your USPs of your products can help solve that through AI.
Lea, what do you think? What would be your advice?
I agree with all what has been said. I think if I had to add one thing that I've seen throughout the groups that I've actually been able to push it further is that it's not about ideas. We have great ideas us together with AI. It's not about ideas. It's about making ideas happen into the process. So my small advice is that if you're a grandmother that cannot go to get cash, create teams regarding innovation. I've seen it through the groups, and I thought it was not necessary. And I thought, yeah, shall we just talk to operational teams? And no, I think, and that's a true belief now, with a special team working on making those ideas happen, it does happen. And that's very different. I think operational are very good at operations, but they are too busy at operations to make innovations happen. They need help. So I'll advise a team for innovation.
Okay, thanks. And it's always nice to give the final word to a lady. So, Marcela, what would be your advice?
Yes, like I agree with the points that we just mentioned. And I would say to look beyond what we're doing now. Obviously, this is maybe a very self-explanatory point, but in an industry of IT and automotive industry, everything changes so quickly. We need to not only work on what we're doing now, but in parallel, look beyond the scope, let's say. Right now, I feel there's a lot of B2B focus, but what about the other markets, like Marcel was saying? What about this photo booth that you could be implemented and including the private customers and involve them in the process? Maybe they don't even know they can. So I feel like we need to look beyond what we're doing and not just stay in the quote unquote comfort zone, because it's definitely not comfortable zone, but stay on the lane that you know that you're doing and that you have been doing for years and years with the company that you're working now. So yeah, it goes with Lea's point, like innovation, and don't wait for them to tell you where to go. Just tell them where you're going, basically, is what I want to say.
Okay, thanks a lot for your advice. Thanks a lot for you to be here as experts. And I'm sure we'll all see each other in Dublin in November again. So thanks a lot for being here today. Thanks for your advice.
Thank you. Bye.